Wait! With the sun who scatters into flight the stars before him from the field of night, drives night along with him from heaven, and strikes the Sultan's turret with a shaft of light. Before the phantom of false morning died, methought a voice within the tavern cried, when all the temple is prepared within, why nods the drowsy worshippers outside? And as the cock crew, those who stood before the tavern shouted, open in the door. You know how little while we have to stay, and once departed may return no more. Now that new year reviving old desires, the thoughtful soul to solitude retires, where the white hand of Moses on the bough puts out, and Jesus from the ground suspires. Hiram indeed is gone with all his rows, and Jamshid's 7-ring cup where no one knows, but still a ruby kindles in the vine, in many a garden where the water blows. And David's lips are locked, but in divine high-piping Palevi, with wine, 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 red wine, the nightingale cries to the rose, that sallow cheek of hers to Cardine. Come fill the cup, and in the fire of spring your winter garments of repentance fling. The bird of time has but a little way to flutter, and the bird is on the wing. Whether it's Nicepur or Babylon, whether the cup of sweet or bitter run, the wine of life keeps oozing drop by drop. The leaves of life keep falling one by one. Each morn 1,000 roses bring, you say. Yes, but where leaves the rose of yesterday? And this first summer month that brings the rose shall take Jamshid and Kaikobad it away. Well, let it take them. What have we to do with Kaikobad the Great, or Kaikoshu? Let Zal arrest and bluster as they will, or Hatim call to supper. Heed not you. With me along this strip of herbage sown that just divides the desert from the sown, where name of slave and sultan is forgot, and peace to Muhammad on his golden throne. A book of verses underneath the bough, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and now beside me singing in the wilderness. Ah, wilderness for paradise now. Some for the glories of this world, and some sigh for the prophet's paradise to come. Ah, take the cash and let the credit go, nor heed the rumble of a distant drum. Look to the blowing rose about us. Lo, laughing, she says, into the world I blow. And once the silken tassel of my pursed hair, and its treasures on the garden throw. And those who husbanded the golden grain, and those who flung it to the winds like rain, alike for no such orient earth are turned, as buried once men wont dig up again. The worldly hope men set their hearts upon turn ashes, or it prospers, and anon, like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting it a little hour or two is gone. Think, in this battered caravanserai, whose portals are alternate night and day, how sultan after sultan in his pomp abode his destined hour and went his way. They say the lion and lizard keep the courts where Jamshid gloried and drank deep, and Bahram, that great hunter, the wild ass snaps o'er his head, but cannot break his sleep. I sometimes think that never blows so red the rose as where some buried Caesar bled, that ever hyacinth the garden wears dropped in her lap from some once lovely head, and this reviving herb whose tender green pledges the river lip on which we lean. Ah, lean upon it lightly, for who knows from what once lovely lip it springs unseen. Ah, my beloved, fill the cup that clears today of past regrets and future fears. Tomorrow, what tomorrow I may be myself with yesterday's 7,000 years. For some we loved, the loveliest and the best, that from his vintage rolling time hath pressed, have drunk their cups a round or two before, and one by one crept silently to rest. And we that now make merry in the room, they left, in summer dresses in no bloom. Ourselves must we beneath the couch of earth descend, ourselves to make a couch for whom? I'll make the most of what we yet may spend before we too into the dust descend. Dust unto dust, and under dust to lie. Sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end. Alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrow stare, and musing from the tower of darkness cries, fools, your reward is neither here nor there. Why all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so wisely, they are thrust like foolish prophets forth. Their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust. Myself, when young, did eagerly frequent doctor and saint, and heard great argument about it and about, but evermore came out by the same door wherein I went. With them the seed of wisdom did I sow, and with mine own hand wrought to make it grow. And this is all the harvest that I reaped. I come like water, and like wind I go into this universe, and why not knowing, nor whence, like water willy-nilly flowing, and out of it as wind along the waste, I know not whither, willy-nilly blowing. What? Without asking hither hurried whence, and without asking whither hurried hence, how many a cup of this forbidden wine must drown the memory of that insolence? Up from the earth's center to the seventh gate I rose, and on the throne of Saturn sate, and many a knot unraveled with the road, but not the master knot of human fate. There was a door to which I found no key. There was the veil through which I might not see. Some little talk a while of me and thee there was, and then no more of thee and me. Earth could not answer, nor the seas that mourn, in flowing purple of their Lord forlorn, nor rolling heaven with all his signs revealed, and hidden by the sleeve of night and morn. Then the thee and me which works behind the veil, I lifted up my hand to find a lamp amid the darkness, and I heard as from without, the me within thee blind. Then to the lips of this poor earthen urn I learned the secret of my life to learn, and lip it murmured, while you live, drink, for once dead you never shall return. I think the vessel that with fugitive articulation once did live, and drink, and the passive lips I kissed, how many kisses might it take and give? For I remember stopping with the way to watch a potter thumping his wet clay, and with its all obliterated tongue it murmured, "Gently, brother, gently, pray." And has not such a story from of old down man's successive generations rolled, of such a clod of saturated earth cast by the Maker into a human mold? And not a drop that from our cups we throw for earth to drink of, but may steal below to quench the fire of anguish in some hive, there hidden, far beneath and long ago. As then the tulip for her morning sup of heavenly vintage from the soil looks up, do you devoutly do the like, till heaven to earth invert you like an empty cup. Perplex no more with human or divine, tomorrow's tangle to the winds resign, and lose your finger in the tresses of the cypress slender, minister of wine. And if the wine you drink and the lips you press ends in what all begins and ends in, yes, think then you are today what yesterday you were, tomorrow you shall not be less. So when the angel of the darker drink at last shall find you by the river brink, and offering his cup invite your soul forth to your lips to quaff, you shall not shrink. Why, if the soul can fling the dust aside and naked on the air to heaven ride, were it not a shame in this clay carcass crippled to abide? 'Tis but a tent where takes his one day's rest, a sultan to the realms of death addressed. The sultan rises, and the dark firash strikes and prepares it for another guest. And fear not lest existence, closing your account and mine, should know the like no more. The eternal sake from his bowl has poured millions of bubbles like us, and will pour. When you and I behind the veil are past, but the long, long while the world shall last, which of our coming and departures heeds, as the sea's self should heed a pebble cast. A moment's halt, a momentary taste of being from the well amid the waste, and lo, the phantom caravan has reached the nothing it set out from. All make haste. Would you that spingle of existence spend about the secret? Quick about it, friend. A hair perhaps divides the false and true. And upon what, pray thee, may life depend? A hair perhaps divide the false and true, yes, and a single aleph with a clue. Could you but find it, to the treasure house, and peradventure to the master too, whose secret presence through creation's vein runs quicksilver-like, eludes your pains, taking all shapes to mahi, and they change and perish all, but he remains. A moment guessed, then back behind the fold, immersed in darkness, round the drama roll, which, for the pastime of eternity, he doth himself contrive, enact, behold. But if in vain down on the stubborn floor of earth and up to heaven's unopened door you gaze today while you are you, how then, tomorrow, you and shall be you no more. Waste not your hour, nor in the vain pursuit of this and that endeavor and dispute. Better be jocund with the fruitful grape than sadden after none or bitter fruit. You know, my friend, with what a brave carouse I made a second marriage in my house, divorced old barren reason from my bed, and took a daughter of the vine to spouse. For is and is not, though with rule and line, and up and down by logic I define. Of all that one should care to fathom, I was never deep in anything but wine. Of it my computations, people say, reduced the year to better reckoning. Nay, 'twas only striking from the calendar unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. And lately by the tavern door agape came shining through the dusk an angel shape, bearing a vessel on his shoulder, and he bid me taste of it. And 'twas the grape that can with logic absolute the 72 gyring sex confute, the sovereign alchemist that in trice life's leaden metal to gold transmute. The mighty Muhammad, the all-breathing Lord, that all the misbelieving and black horde of fears and sorrows that infest the soul scatters before him with his whirlwind sword. Why be this juice the growth of God, who dare blaspheme the twisted tendrils as a snare? A blessing we should use it, should we not? And if a curse, why then who set it there? I must abjure this balm of life, I must, scared by some after-reckoning taken on trust, or lured with hopes of some diviner drink to fill the cup when crumbled into dust. All threats of hell and hopes of paradise. One thing at least is certain, this life flies. One thing is certain, and the rest is lies. The flower that once is blown forever dies. Strange is it not that the myriads before us past the darkness through, not one returns to tell us of the road which to discover we must travel to. The revelations of devout and learned who rose before us, and as prophets burned, are all but stories which awoke from sleep. They told their comrades, and to sleep returned. I sent my soul to the invisible some letters of the afterlife to spell, and by my soul returned to me and answered, I myself am heaven and hell. Heaven but the vision of fulfilled desire, and hell but the shadow from a soul on fire, cast on the darkness into which ourselves so late emerged from, shall so soon expire. We're no other than a moving row of magic shadow shapes that come and go round with the sun-illumed lantern held in the midnight sky by the master of the show. But helpless pieces of the game he plays upon his checkerboard of night and days, hither and thither moves and checks and slays, and one by one back into the closet lays. The ball, no question, makes of eyes or nose, but here or there as strike the player goes, and he that tossed you down into the field, he knows about it all. He knows. He knows. The moving finger writes, and having writ moves on, or all your piety and your wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, and ere all your tears wash out a word of it. And that inverted bowl they call the sky, whereunder crawling cooped we live and die, lift not your hands to it for help, for it as impotently moves as you or I. Was the earth's first clay they did the last man need, and there of the last harvest sowed the seed, and the first morning of creation wrote what the last dawn of reckoning shall read. Yesterday this day's madness did prepare tomorrow's silence, triumph, or despair. Drink, for you know not whence you came nor why. Drink, for you know not why you go nor where. I tell you this, when started from the goal over the flaming shoulder of the foal of heaven, Barwin and Mustari, they flung in my predestined plot of dust and soul. The vine has struck a fibre, which about clings my being, let the dervish flout. Of my base metal may be filed a key that shall unlock the door he howls without. And this I know, whether the one true light kindles to love, or wrath consume me quiet, one flash of it within the tavern caught is better than in the temple lost outright. What? Out of senseless nothing to provoke a conscious something to resent the yoke of permitted pleasures under pain of everlasting penalties if broke? What? Helpless creatures be repaid pure gold for what he lent him dross allayed, sue for a debt he never did contract and cannot answer? Ah, the sorry trade. O thou who didst with pitfall and with gin beset the road I was to wander in, thou wilt not with predestined evil round enmesh and then impute my fall to sin. O thou who man of baser earth didst make, and even with paradise devised the snake, for all the sin wherewith the face of man is blackened, man's forgiveness give and take. As under cover of departing day slunk hunger-stricken Ramazan way, once more within the potter's house alone I stood surrounded by shapes of clay. Shapes of all sorts and sizes, great and small, they stood along the floor and by the wall, and some loquacious vessels were, and some listened perhaps, but never talked at all. Said one among them, surely not in vain my substance was the common earth was taken, and to this figure molded, to be broke, or trampled back to shapeless earth again. Then said a second, ne'er a peevish boy would break the bowl from which he drank in joy, and he that with his hand this vessel made will surely not in after wrath destroy. After a momentary silence spake some vessel of a more ungainly make. They stare at me for leaning all awry. What? Did the hand then of the potter shake? Whereas someone of the loquacious lot, I think a sufky pipkin waxing hot, all this of pot and potter, tell me then, who is the potter, pray, and who the pot? Why, said another, there's some or who tell of one who threatens he will toss to hell the luckless pot he marred in making. Pish! He's a good fellow, and it'll all be well. Well, murmured one, let those who make her buy. My clay with long oblivion is dry, but fill me with the old familiar juice. Methinks I might recover by and by. So while the vessels one by one were speaking, and the little moon looked in, that all were seeking, and then they jogged each other, brother, brother, now for the potter's shoulder knot a-creaking. Ah, will the grape my fading life provide, and wash the body whence the life has died, and lay me shrouded in the living leaf by some not unfrequented garden side, that even my buried ashes, such a snare of vintage, shall fling into the air, as not a true believer passing by, but shall be overtaken unaware. Indeed, the idols I have loved so long have done my credit in this world much wrong, have drowned my glory in a shallow cup, and sold my reputation for a song. Indeed, repentance oft before I swore, but was I sober when I swore? And then came spring, and rose in hand my threadbare penance a piece tore. As much as wine has played the infidel and robbed me of my robes of honor, well, I wonder often what the vintners buy one half so precious as the stuff they sell. Yet that spring should vanish with the rose, that youth's sweet-scented manuscript should close, the nightingale that in the branches sing, whence and whither flown again, who knows? Would but the desert of the fountain yield, on glimpse, if dimly, yet indeed revealed, to which the fainting traveler might spring, as springs the trampled herbage of the field. Would but some winged angel, ere too late, arrest this yet unfolded roll of fate, and make the stern recorder otherwise in register, or quite obliterate. Ah, love, could you and I with him conspire to grasp this sorry scheme of things entire, would not we shatter it to bits, and then remold it nearer to the heart's desire? Yon rising moon that looks for us again, how oft hereafter will she wax and wane? How oft hereafter rising look for us through this same garden, and for one in vain? And when like her, O Seika, you shall pass among the guest stars scattered in the grass, and in your joyous errand reach the spot where I made one, turn down an empty glass. Tamam.